No, you listen to me for a second. You have no right whatsoever to say what and what isn't a religion. The Constitution of the United States of America guarantees one's rights to practice and believe freely in this country. And the definition of religion is very clear, and it's not defined by John Sweeney. And for you to repeatedly refer to my faith in those terms is so derogatory, so offensive, and so bigoted, and the reason you keep repeating it is because you wanted to get a reaction like you're getting right now. Well, buddy, you got it. Right here, right now. I'm angry. Real angry.
Mr. Tommy Davis, Anonymous is growing tired of your lies. Ever since you first opened your mouth on CNN in the interview with John Roberts, you have lied through your teeth.
You know, John, the reality on it is that in our case, we're dealing with things like, 96 death threats, bomb threats, acts of vandalism, these kinds of things that are very destructive and very harmful. And we have to take measures on our part to ensure the protection of our facilities and our parishioners and their physical well-being as a general rule.
You claimed that Anonymous are terrorists and have been sending death threats. This was a fabrication, as was revealed by the interviewer himself.
Are leveling these accusations at this group. The FBI, which is looking into it, says it has found nothing to connect this group Anonymous with what you're talking about or death threats against members of the church. The FBI at this point says it has no reason to believe that charges would be leveled against this group.
You knew full well that the FBI did not suspect Anonymous of the non-existent threats, and yet you attempted to spin a fairy tale anyway, on live television. Your own ineptitude drew your pitiful representation of the cult of Scientology into the spotlight again, as it is going to again, today, right now.
Really, the thing you have to understand is Scientologists, like many people, like anybody, we go to doctors. If somebody's sick, some sort of physical ailment, we go to the doctor, you get a prescription, whatever the course of treatment that would be recommended by a doctor, you're going to do that. And, it's very important. It's not, really it's actually something that's mandatory from the church's viewpoint. Someone has some sort of physical difficulty or problem, something's happening with them, they're ill, go to a doctor, get it checked out, find out what's going on. If it involves a prescription or whatever treatment the doctor recommends, they're going to do that.
You claim that Scientology does not discourage the use of medications for physical ailments. However, you failed to mention the fact that L. Ron Hubbard himself declared epileptics degraded beings, and that epilepsy-related terms are gobbledygook.
This doctor was simply giving her these tranquilizers, and it was this bromine, and they don't give it to you as a drug. And then people who have epilepsy, which is a type of disease which gives them seizures, are almost always found on some minor drug that prevents them from getting these, they call them petite mal seizures. That's epilepsy. I don't care how they call it. Sometimes they really seize, and sometimes it's just slight. If an epileptic ever took you by the hand and so forth, you'd liable to break every bone in your hand if he suddenly had a seizure. But the doctors keep them on something to prevent this. It's just a tranquilizer. And they keep them on that 1 year in and year out. And then you come along as an auditor, and you try to audit the PC, and you tell the PC that it'll have to go off that drug, and then all of a sudden, something will happen from some place or another that the PC will tell the doctor that they have been taken off the drug by the auditor, and the doctor will call up plaintively, asking you to please put her back on the drug, because she needs this. You get into a collision between medical treatment and so on. Now, I've been using a lot of medical words here, or chemical words, really. Just don't pay any attention to them, because they're mostly gobbledygook. And there's an awful lot of gobbledygook words. Gobbledygook just means nonsense chatter. There's an awful lot of them.
You also failed to mention what the CCHR, an exposed Scientology front group, thought of the drug known as Depakote. Clearly, you do not represent all of the views of your self-proclaimed church.
The church doesn't involve itself in diagnosing or classifying medical conditions. It's just not, as a church, we deal with the spirit. And, in terms of bodies and the handling of physical problems, that's something, for the medical community.
But will you acknowledge that autism does exist in the world? Not so much, I'm not saying you'll diagnose it.
Sure.
But is there such a thing as autism in this world of Scientology?
I mean, yeah, I mean, to the degree that you have the medical community acknowledging that there is this thing called autism and that it requires treatment and doctors treat it and so on and so forth, yeah, absolutely.
Anonymous also finds it rather humorous that you now reverse the claims that the ritual known as the purification rundown were secular programs, and now refer to them as spiritual activities. The fact that you are now changing your arguments, while attempting to sweep the old argument under the rug, only consolidates your absolute incompetence as a spokesman. Anonymous encourages you to continue to follow the failed tech in your press releases. With each lie you tell, with every contradiction that you make, with every word that escapes your lips, you dig yet another foot into your already unfathomably deep hole. Anonymous welcomes this, for in these conditions, defeat is impossible.
You know, and sometimes physical conditions involve the brain or some sort of malfunctioning, you know, in that regard. And again, that's absolutely the province of medicine, and Scientologists go to doctors for that.
Tommy, let me ask you one last question, because some people who have reported on the church and some who have left the church have said that according to Scientology, people with disabilities like autism are classified as, and I'm using a quote here, degraded, that they are capable of curing themselves by working harder on the church's teachings. Is that the position of Scientology?
Absolutely not. I mean, that's completely false.
Mr. Davis, you are the cancer that is killing the cult of Scientology. We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.